You know, if we go back to March 1984, Mary Simon was one of just a few women included in the First Ministers' Conference to discuss Section 35 of the Constitution Act, which affirms existing treaty rights of Indigenous people. A critical moment in our history. Mary Simon was advocating to include an equality clause. So here's what happened when she was challenged by then Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau.
I wish you and your sisters would take it out of your head that somehow we're deliberately trying to frustrate the concept of equality.
Well, I am an Aboriginal representative that represents both male and female persons in northern Quebec. As people, we have one interest, and that is our collective and individual rights.
Hello everyone, my name is Mary Simon. My Inuit name is Ningyakadlak. I was born on August 21, 1947, in Kankerjluwak, which is originally George River, a small community on the east coast of Ungava Bay in Nunavut, Quebec. My mother is Nancy May. Her Inuit name is Angnatuk Askew. She is an Inuk descent. My father, Bob Martin May, was the manager of the local Hudson's Bay Company Post and a Southern English Canadian. I and my 7 siblings were raised in accordance with Inuit customs, which included surviving off the land and using sled dogs. I have been working with Inuit groups and the federal government with the trust and support of both for many years. In the last 40 years, I have achieved Section 35 of the 1982 Constitution Act, providing constitutional protection to Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. New governance models, including a new government in Nunavut. Constitutionally protected land claims agreements across the Arctic. Devolution agreements concluded with 2 of 3 Arctic governments and 1 in negotiation. Permanent participant status for Indigenous organizations on the Arctic Council. Canada's full support for the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action. Concerted effort to promote and protect Canadian sovereignty in the Arctic. I have been an instrumental figure in the advocacy for Indigenous rights. In 1976, I began public service when I was elected as secretary to the board of directors of the Northern Quebec Inuit Association. Prior to the election, the association fought for Inuit rights and a larger role in negotiations with the Quebec government over the James Bay Hydroelectric Project. The project had a significant impact on the environment and Indigenous communities in the region, the consequences of which are still being felt today. The work of the group, as well as that of many Cree and Inuit leaders, resulted in the signing of the James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement in 1975. Canada's first comprehensive Indigenous land claim settlement. I was directly involved with the implementation of the agreement. On December 10, 1993, I was one of 9 community leaders chosen by the federal government to the Nunavut Implementation Commission. I was McKittrick Corporation's first vice president from 1978 to 1980, and then from 1983 to 1985. From 1986 to 1992, I was also the chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Council, ICC. I was instrumental in the development of key policies that helped shape the modern Arctic. I was the president of Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami ITK from 2006 to 2012. During my time as president, I advocated for more attention to health and education issues among youth in the North. My reputation as an Inuit spokesperson is such that I was one of 5 Indigenous representatives invited to the House of Commons in 2008 to accept the government's apology to residential school students, and I was named an honorary witness to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's investigation into residential schools. I chaired the National Committee on Inuit Education from 2008 to 2014. I oversaw the implementation of the 2011 report First Canadians, Canadians First, a national strategy for Inuit education, which identified and closed educational gaps and reduced dropout rates among Inuit children while teaching them in their native language. In 2012, the Arctic Children and Youth Foundation were founded by me. Since 2012, the Arctic Children and Youth Foundation have supported youth to know where to reach out for help, learn healthy ways to cope and create safe spaces for youth to talk about the heavy issues they face as Inuit youth in Canada. In 2012, when CTV's Canada AM visited Iqaluit, I was asked to appear on the show to discuss housing issues in the Nunavut capital. I brought up hidden homelessness. People who would otherwise be homeless but are taken in by their families, was a problem in all Inuit communities, leading to overcrowding and other unhealthy conditions. I also discussed the importance of balancing the region's economic development with education in order to ensure that new opportunities do not pass the children of the North by. I delivered a report to the Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs in 2017, as the Minister's Special Representative, a new shared Arctic leadership model, laying the groundwork for important policy and program development in support of the Arctic and its residents. In 2021, I was a Governor General while simultaneously working for Makivik Corporation as Nunavut's principal negotiator on self-determination and as a special representative on the Arctic to the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs.
Something that is important to highlight is that Mary Simon was named as Canada's first Indigenous Governor-General just this past summer. On July 6, 2021, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Queen Elizabeth's approval of her appointment as Canada's 30th Governor-General. The Inuit community is optimistic that a new Inuk Governor-General will bring about positive change and improved communication between the federal government and Indigenous communities. Mary Simon is an ideal Governor-General for this place and time because she is Inuk, has a long career with the federal government, and has represented Canada as an ambassador. Mary Simon is a former Canadian diplomat and longtime Inuk leader who helped negotiate the first modern treaty and fought tirelessly for Indigenous rights.
We're talking about a fundamental right.
This is her going head-to-head over sexual equality with Justin Trudeau's father decades ago when he was Prime Minister.
In a sense, you're equal when you think you're equal.
I'd like to see the equality clause once and for all settled.
In March 1984, she advocated for an equality clause in Section 35 of the Constitution Act. The efforts resulted in reworking of Section 35 of the Constitution, which meant Inuit land claims becoming equivalent to treaty rights and thus protected by the Constitution. Also, Section 35 expanded Indigenous rights to include equality for First Nations women in 1983.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed my story.